Hey, this is Mr. Don. Some of you know me from my podcast EFNL. Hell yeah. If not, welcome aboard. All right, this is a series I'm going to call Mr. Don's Asian Wisdom. Not that I really have any, but I have spent more than 20 years of my adult life living, working, hanging out in Southeast Asian countries. I'm coming at you from Hanoi currently. All right, 5 philosophies you need to succeed in Southeast Asia as an expat. First, personal relationships. Man, they are important. Unlike back home where you can just ignore your neighbors, you may not even know who they are. Neighborhoods here are havens of gossip. This is the best fun time activity. And this also applies to the local expat community. So people watch you, they see what you're doing, and they judge you. Now, the good news is if you're an easygoing, surfer Joe, good time vibrations, I'm living up good vibrations, and like that, then people will generally love you and you will be golden, the golden child in Southeast Asia. If not, man, you're going to have troubles. And you need to pick your battles. And we'll get to some of the things that are wrong with neighborhoods that they do. What you need to decide is whether it's really worth, especially shaming somebody in public, a local. The concept of face is important. And if you decide to do that, wow, that's something that generally Southeast Asians don't hold grudges, but if you do that, they may. And it may come back to bite you in your big ass. So, something to think about. All right, second is about expectations of noise, etc., in your neighborhood or wherever you're living. If you're living in the city, of course, you might not have expectations, but if you're in a neighborhood, they don't have zoning laws, and the expectation is not they're going to be quiet. So you may have to put up with, crowing roosters, barking dogs, all hours of the night and morning, the morning call to prayer. For myself, I've always found that if I've lived somewhere like that for a while, I just shut all that out and go to sleep. If you're not one of those people, then I suggest you pick your battles and get some noise canceling white noise earmuffs or whatever you need to do. Now, it's harder when it comes to people, and that's where my pick your battles probably comes in, is your neighbors there's events that take like anywhere from a day to several days. They're going to rent a karaoke machine. They're going to have some terrible MC, people screaming and blaring into the mic. They're going to have terrible music. You've got to put up with this. And again, you can complain, but you may want to think about it. Now, the positive thing is when in Rome, feel free yourself to just make some noise and fucking, if it's the 4th of July and you say, I'm an American, this is my national holiday, and you throw a big party in your yard and you invite some neighbors over for like 1 or 2 hours and then kick them all out and then proceed to light off fucking rockets, and you got noise blaring from speakers and you're, drinking half the night, whatever, you won't be judged. That'll be okay with them. They'll all be fine with that. I know, that's a novel concept, but that's something you need to think about. Maybe you just need to, do what they do and just once in a while, just make a lot of noise. All right. 3, scammers, would-be robbers. And this is in tourist areas, but it's always prevalent in tourist areas. First of all, the skin tax. You got white skin. Anything that you negotiate, even if it's in the local language, you may or may not be, screwed or shafted or taken advantage of. I've generally found not too much if you actually learn to negotiate in the local language, which is a big thing you need to learn how to do. Then transportation costs. That's another one that people get, But most expats, if you've been living there, you know what the costs are. The problem is when you're in a tourist area and you, despite being a local at that point, are taking, a local Song Tao or Bot Bus or Jeepney or whatever it might be, coal, and and once in a while you get someone who just, I don't know, they think you owe more than you should. It's rare, but it happens. And, it's happened to me. And I've even had an episode where I went to cross the street, an intersection with a Thai Songtao driver and to the police station, at which point they asked for her badge number and like, yeah, it basically kept her there while they told me to like piss off and I didn't owe them anything. So padding restaurants and bills and bar bills is really common as well if you're in a tourist area. The thought process, it's hard to wrap your mind around this, but you need to, is a lot of these businesses, if they don't really know you well and you don't come there all the time, they don't consider that that them trying to cheat you is going to going to lose a long-term customer, and that's bad. They just think of the short-term gain and the bit of coin that they're making off of that transaction. And so you have to be prepared to, after this happens a couple times at the same place, is just to not go there again. Say, write that off your list. Even if they have great food or whatever, you like the vibe, the environment, is just, I'm not going there. And you might want to talk to the owner as well, especially if it's a non-local foreign owner. Anyway, number 4 is security. Now, the first is physical security. Obviously, where you live needs to be secure, and if it's an apartment building, that may involve, having a local or having a satpam, having a dude, guy out there, security guard or gal, and probably more than just show, like actually visitors log, limited to where cards will take people if you're in an apartment building. It might involve mandatory visits to the head of the neighborhood. If you're in a kampung or barangay in the Philippines or whatever else, Paerte, Paerwe, it might involve visiting your local head of the community, let them know who you are, putting locks on your doors, and then most of all, just having a good relationship with your neighbors, because they'll be the ones who actually watch out for you. So that goes back to my previous point. Finally, there's a concept I like to call the magic gate, based on one of my long-term expat friends' experiences in the Philippines. People used to kid him that he has this magic gate. What that was is that relatives just weren't allowed to come from the countryside, the province, the kampung, whatever the case may be. They had to get permission beforehand, from the wife. It was limited based on the relatives' relationship. So parents could, come, but they needed to like just say, hey, we're going to come for a week or whatever. Okay. Other people know, cousins absolutely not. This kind of thing. And that was important because depending on where you live, you may be beset upon by just random relatives. I mean, where are they coming from? Well, the poor countryside or provinces, whatever. Hey, feel perfectly free to hang out at your house for an unlimited time if you're a nice enough person to put up with it. Don't. Absolutely establish that. You have a physical gate, which is important for your yard to keep neighbors from, coming over and smoking cigarettes in your yard or whatever. And if you have the gate open, then that's an invitation for them to come in. But if you have that gate closed, they usually respect that. And so that's the physical part. And then the second part is the protocol, like where you just don't let family or other people just to randomly show up at your house. So I think that's important in most places in Southeast Asia. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the philosophy of, you know what, fuck it. At the end of the day, we're here in Southeast Asia. There's a reason why I chose to come here. Uh, let's have a drink. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a smoke, cigar, whatever. Let's not worry about it. Forgive and forget. And that follows, what you might call a Buddhist tranquil, um, peaceful mindset. But it's not Buddhist. It doesn't matter if you're in the most Catholic Christian part of the Philippines or the most Muslim part of Indonesia. There's a philosophy across Southeast Asia, let things go and move on. And, nobody there goes to psychiatrists to just turn up the past, and this would be insane. The idea of like paying someone like money for you to just dig up past events and stuff. That's why. All right, so it's your personal responsibility to accept that negative things happen in life all the time. Don't get stressed out about them. Reflect upon them if you need to a little bit, and then forgive yourself, forgive other people involved, and just move on. A harmony, Beach Boys, like I said, good vibrations. If you can do that, you'll be successful in Southeast Asia. And that's that.